Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. 2 days ago, a scary and unexpected accident changed the lives of Julia Trubkina and her husband Brandon Gibbs, who are stars of 90 Day Fiancé. Julia, who is pregnant with the couple's first child, fell while taking a shower at their home in Virginia and had to be taken to the hospital right away. Fans all over the world were very worried after seeing a picture of Julia in a hospital bed go viral on Instagram. People have said that Julia's husband Brandon is mentally broken and worried, but doctors have told the public that there is no reason to be afraid. Julia and the baby are both safe. The event started early in the morning when Julia slipped in the shower and hit her side. Brandon, who was at home, quickly went to help her. Julia was still awake, but she looked weak, scared, and in pain. Brandon quickly called for help, and paramedics took her to the hospital. In those first few seconds, the fear was real. Julia and Brandon had always wanted to have a baby, and now they were worried about both of their lives. Doctors did quick tests like ultrasounds and vital checks, and after a few tense hours, they finally told Brandon and Julia what they needed to hear. The baby's heartbeat was strong, Julia's condition was stable, and there was no need to worry. The doctor who was there said, "There is no reason to be afraid. The baby was not hurt in the fall, and Julia's health is stable. She will need rest and monitoring, but her prognosis is good." The couple felt relieved, but the ordeal left its mark, especially on Brandon, who was said to have been pacing the waiting room with tears in his eyes and refusing to leave his wife's side for even a moment. When a picture of Julia in the hospital showed up online, it only made her feel more vulnerable. Julia lay on crisp white sheets with a hospital wristband on her arm, and four connected to her, and her hand gently resting on her stomach. She looked tired but peaceful, like someone who was strong and weak at the same time. The picture went viral on Instagram, with big 90 Day Fiancé fan accounts sharing it and getting a lot of comments. Fans filled the comments with prayer emojis, kind words of support, and messages of hope. Hashtags like #PrayForJulia and #TeamBrandonandJulia became popular in the fandom as thousands of people who had once cheered for their love story on TV came together to support Julia's recovery and the baby's safety. "Julia, you are strong," wrote one fan. "We are praying for you and the baby," one person said. Another said, "This couple has been through so much, they deserve their happy family." Some even shared their own stories of similar pregnancy scares, turning the comments into a global chorus of empathy. In a time when reality TV often brings stars and their fans closer together, Julia's hospitalization made it hard to tell the difference between real life and TV. What started as a private fear in a Virginia hospital room had turned into a moment of global compassion. At the same time, Brandon's emotional state became a source of worry. People on 90 Day Fiancé knew him for being loyal and sometimes anxious. He was said to be heartbroken by the accident. A close family friend told the news, "Brandon has always looked out for Julia, but this was different. Every scare seems huge when you're pregnant. He was scared of losing her and the baby. It really shook him to his core." Nurses said he looked very upset but held Julia's hand and whispered reassuring things to her all night. The scare was especially upsetting for people who had been fans of the couple for a long time. There is a lot of information about Julia and Brandon's journey, from the cultural differences and family drama on Brandon's parents' farm to their marriage and independence. People have seen Julia's fiery independence and Brandon's quiet determination, and many were excited to see what would happen next as they became parents. Julia has often shared honest thoughts about the ups and downs of pregnancy on her own blog, showing both her vulnerability and excitement. This hospitalization reminded her not only of her humanity, but also of how fragile even the best times can be. Doctors gave updates in the days after the accident that gave everyone hope. There were no signs that Julia had any internal injuries or problems. The baby's heart was beating steadily and strongly. Her vital signs were normal, and she was doing well with rest and monitoring. "There is no reason for fear," the doctor said again, making a phrase that fans would use on social media as a mantra of relief. Julia should be fully healed and back home in a few days, ready to continue her journey into motherhood. What started out as a scary accident has turned into a story of strength, love, and prayer from many people. The incident made Brandon realize how much he fears losing the woman he loves and the child they are about to have. It was a test of strength for Julia, and she handled it with grace and vulnerability. It was a chance for fans to come together to support a couple whose love story they have followed from TV to real life. The hospital photo that went viral did more than show how vulnerable Julia was. It also made people around the world feel empathy and turned fear into hope. Julia Trubkina is okay. The baby is okay. Brandon is still by her side. And they will move forward together with not only their own strength, but also the prayers of thousands of people who believe in their love story. A scary accident 2 days ago cut short the lives of 90 Day Fiancé stars Julia Trubkina and Brandon Gibbs. It could have changed everything. Julia, who is pregnant with the couple's first child and is due in a few months, fell while taking a shower in their Virginia home, which left her shaken and in pain. Brandon, who was scared and worried, took her to the hospital right away, where doctors said she would need to be watched. A picture of Julia in a hospital bed quickly went viral on Instagram, and fans all over the world sent her a lot of prayers, messages, and concern. Doctors have since told everyone that Julia and the baby are safe, but the whole thing has left Brandon emotionally broken and has once again shown how hard it is for reality TV stars to keep their public and private lives separate. After the accident, it felt like the world was closing in on Brandon and Julia's quiet home life. Julia had begun her day like any other, getting ready for what lay ahead. But a small mistake in the shower made her lose her balance. She hit her side on the tile and right away felt weak in pain. Julia was scared that the fall might hurt the baby she was carrying, so she called out to Brandon from the bathroom. Brandon was in another room, but he rushed in right away. His heart sank when he saw his wife pale and shaking, holding on to the shower wall. Brandon's first few moments were a blur. Fear took over, and his instincts told him to act quickly. He called 911 and told them what had happened. He stayed close to Julia and held her hand until the paramedics got there. Brandon got into the ambulance after Julia, his hands shaking and his mind racing with the worst things that could happen. Julia whispered weakly, "Don't leave me," her eyes full of tears. Brandon squeezed her hand and said in a low voice, "I won't. I'm here." At the hospital, doctors quickly started their evaluations, which included blood tests, ultrasound scans, and fetal monitoring. Brandon paced the room, his eyes darting to every nurse and doctor, desperate for news. Hours felt like days. Brandon broke down when the doctor finally came over and said reassuring things like that Julia's vitals were stable, the baby's heartbeat was strong, and there was no reason to be afraid. But even with that comfort, the fear had already left a deep mark on him. It was during this fragile time that a photograph of Julia made its way to the internet. She was in a hospital bed with an IV in her arm and one hand over her stomach to protect it. She looked tired but calm, and her eyes showed that she was both tired and strong. A small Instagram fan account first shared the picture, but it quickly spread to bigger 90 Day Fiancé pages. In just a few hours, it had gone viral, showing up on thousands of feeds with captions asking people to pray for Julia. Some accounts posted news stories from news sites, while others just shared the picture with hashtags like #PrayForJulia, #BrandonandJulia, and #StayStrongJulia. A lot of fans responded. Comment sections turned into online places where people could pray and support each other. One supporter wrote, "Sending you strength, Julia. You and the baby will be fine." Someone else wrote, "This couple has gone through so much and always come out on top." Many fans shared their own stories of falling during pregnancy, talking about how scared they were and how relieved they were when it was over, sending Julia words of support. Someone wrote, "I fell while I was pregnant too. I remember how scared I was. I want Julia to know that she's not the only one who has been through this. Many of us have, and we made it through. She will too." Fans found comfort in the doctor's words and their own experiences, but Brandon still had to deal with the fear of the accident. People who saw him at the hospital said he was restless and walked up and down the hallways, gripping Julia's hand tightly when he sat next to her. He didn't seem calm anymore. Instead, he seemed to be quietly intense, as if his whole world would fall apart if he let go for even a second. Brandon looked broken, one nurse said softly, but he was also strong in his own way. He kept telling her she was safe and that he loved her. For Brandon, the hours he spent in the hospital felt like a lifetime. He couldn't get the pictures out of his head. Julia falling, the fear in her eyes, and the sound of his own shaking voice when he called for help. Julia was weak, but the people around her gave her strength. She calmed Brandon down by reminding him of how strong they were and how far they had come. From Russia to Virginia, from TV screens to real-life marriage, from fighting over chores and family problems to building a life together. "We've been through so much," she said softly to him. "We will be okay." Even though her voice was low, her words showed the determination that fans had always admired in her. Julia's hospitalization also sparked a lot of debate because it went viral. Some fans were happy about the outpouring of love, but others wondered if the picture should have been shared. One fan said, "This is such a private moment. Shouldn't Julia have been able to share it herself?" Some people said that the couple's public status made the viral spread unavoidable, and that the global prayers were more important than any worries about privacy. The conversation brought up the complicated relationship between reality stars and their fans once more. Their private problems often become public stories, and their moments of weakness become shared experiences. Julia was always closely watched through it all. Doctors checked over and over again to make sure there were no hidden injuries. Each ultrasound brought comfort because the baby's heartbeat was steady and strong. Every time I got my blood pressure checked or got a lab result, I felt better. Julia was feeling better by the second day, and doctors started talking about sending her home. "There is no reason to fear," the doctor said again, a phrase that had been repeated many times in the media and on fan pages by this point. "Julia and the baby are doing well. If she gets enough rest, she will fully heal." Fans all over the world let out a sigh of relief as the news spread. People on social media went from being scared to being thankful, sending messages praising Julia's strength and the couple's love. One fan wrote, "We're so glad you're safe." Some fans even set up virtual prayer chains, while others posted videos of themselves lighting candles or sending good vibes. The world is rooting for you and Brandon as you start this new chapter. The wave of support showed how strong a community can be, even for people who had never met Julia or Brandon in person. But for Brandon, the emotional weight stayed. Friends said he was very upset and kept thinking about the accident. A friend said, "He feels bad, like maybe he could have stopped it in some way. But everyone says it wasn't his fault. He's just a man who loves his wife and unborn child more than anything." Brandon's fear had shown how deeply he cared, something fans had seen on TV but now saw in real life. Julia thought about the event for a while. People knew her for her fiery personality and outspoken nature. She often talked about how hard it was to adjust to life in America, how frustrating farm work was, and how hard it was to deal with cultural differences. But being pregnant had made her more sensitive and vulnerable, and the accident made that even more true. She was in the hospital room with Brandon holding her hand tightly, and her phone buzzing with messages of love from fans. In that moment, she realized how connected her life had become to the people who had followed her story from the beginning. Julia started to think about the future as she got ready to get better. She thought about the birth of her child, her new role as a mother, and her ongoing relationship with Brandon. She gently reminded him, "We will be parents soon. We have to stay strong." At that moment, even though they were scared and tired, they also had hope. It wasn't just a medical update that Julia fell and went to the hospital. It turned into a story about love, fear, strength, and community. It showed how fragile life is, how devoted a husband can be, how weak a wife can be, and how strong strangers can be when they care about each other. It made the lines between reality TV and real life less clear, turning what could have been a private scare into a public moment of hope for everyone. As Julia gets ready to leave the hospital with Brandon by her side, their journey continues. This time, they are not characters on a reality show, but a couple starting the most important chapter of their lives. Julia is okay. The baby is okay. Brandon is still devoted, carrying both the fear and the love that comes with it. And fans stay strong, their prayers ringing out in hearts and on screens. What started as a fall in the shower has turned into a story that will live on in the hearts of those who followed it. It is a testament to resilience, a reminder of how fragile happiness can be, and a story that will live on in the hearts of those who followed it. Julia and Brandon will soon be home, holding each other, and the prayers of a world that wouldn't let them face their fears alone. 90 Day Fiancé star Julia Trubkina is finally back home with her husband, Brandon Gibbs, after spending 2 tense days in the hospital after her scary fall in the shower. The couple has been in the public eye since they first appeared on reality TV. Now they are living through a time of quiet healing and cautious hope. Doctors told the world that both Julia and the baby were safe, but the emotional toll of the accident has not gone away. Instead, it has turned their home into a place of healing, love, and thinking. Julia had mixed feelings about going back home. She was glad to be out of the sterile hospital and back in the comfort of her own home. She was also excited to continue her pregnancy journey, but every step she took made her think about how fragile the life inside her was. Brandon was always close by and wouldn't let her lift even a glass of water without offering to help. He kept telling her to sit down and that he would get it. His protectiveness, even though it came from love, sometimes felt too much. But Julia was patient with him because she knew how scared he was. She knew that he was still thinking about the time in the bathroom when everything fell apart. Friends who came over said that Julia's house was unusually quiet, which was very different from how lively she usually is. She spent a lot of time resting on the couch, wrapped in soft blankets, with her hand over her belly as if it were a natural thing to do. Brandon moved around the house quickly but quietly, checking her water glass, adjusting pillows, and taking calls from family members who were worried. Every little thing he did showed that he was both relieved and still anxious. A friend told me, "He can't stop watching her. He's acting like he's scared something will happen if he looks away." People online are still supporting Julia and Brandon. People are still sending messages of support on Instagram. Fans who followed Julia's hospitalization are now sharing in her recovery by posting things like, "So glad you're home, Julia. Take a break and look after yourself. We're all cheering for you." Others have sent virtual gifts, digital art of Julia and Brandon as parents-to-be, and long letters with heartfelt messages written under her most recent photos. It's been amazing how positive everyone has been about Julia's recovery, especially since social media often leads to criticism and conflict. Julia hasn't said anything herself yet, but sources close to her say she has read a lot of the comments. She feels so moved by the support, one person who knows her said. She didn't know how many people really cared until now. It's helped her see things in a new way. Brandon has also found comfort in the prayers and messages, but he is still focused on the task at hand, keeping Julia safe and calm. Fans have also been talking about the realities of pregnancy and the fears that come with it since the accident. Many women have told their own stories of falling, going to the hospital, and spending long nights worrying about the safety of their unborn child. Many people have found comfort in Julia's story, which has brought them together in a community of shared vulnerability. One fan wrote, "Seeing the picture of Julia in the hospital brought back my own memories. I felt like I was with her. It's something you'll never forget, but it also makes you stronger." Brandon has taken on the role of caregiver at home with a seriousness that surprises even his closest friends. He was often shown on 90 Day Fiancé as a young man stuck between his parents' demands and Julia's fiery independence. But now, becoming a father seems to have changed who he is. A friend of the family said, "He's different. He's more serious now, and there's more to him. He knows how close he came to losing it all. It's changed him." Brandon is said to spend his evenings sitting next to Julia, reading baby books out loud, or just holding her hand in silence. The fear hasn't gone away, but it has changed into a strong desire to be there, protect, and enjoy every moment. Julia is learning how to balance her natural independence with the need to be careful. She was known for being strong-willed and fiery, so at first she didn't like Brandon hovering over her. But the fall made her realize that even she has limits, and that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. A close friend said, "She's learning to slow down. She knows it's what's best for the baby, but it's not easy for her." Fans of the couple also see their journey as a sign of strength. Many people who used to watch their fights on TV now look up to them as examples of love and strength that lasts. The accident was scary, but it has only brought Julia and Brandon closer together, both with each other and with the fans who have followed them for years. They've made it through family fights, cultural differences, and the stress of being famous, one longtime fan wrote online. Now they're teaching us how to live through fear with love. Julia gets stronger every day. Doctors have told her to rest, drink plenty of water, and keep a close eye on her, but they are hopeful about the rest of her pregnancy. Every day that goes by without a problem brings more relief. Julia has started to smile again. She laughs at how overly cautious Brandon is, and even teases him a little. One night, she said to him in a soft but playful voice, "You're like my bodyguard." Brandon just smiled and said, "I'll be whatever you need me to be." The couple gets ready for the future in the peace and quiet of their home. In a corner, there are neatly folded baby clothes and small gifts from family and fans. Julia sometimes holds up a tiny onesie and thinks about the baby who will soon wear it. Brandon feels both the weight of responsibility and the excitement of what is to come as he watches her. The accident may have scared them, but it has also made them more determined to finish the journey ahead. Fans keep the story going on social media by sharing news, guessing when Julia will return to public posts, and celebrating every piece of good news. The hospital photo that went viral and scared people has now become a symbol of strength. It reminds us that even when we're weak, we can still be strong. For Julia and Brandon, the road ahead is no longer just about getting through a scare. It's about starting a new chapter, one that isn't shaped by TV shows or online arguments, but by the quiet, everyday moments of getting ready to welcome new life. Their love has been tested and proven through hard times, and now it moves them forward. And so, after one slip in the shower, there is not just fear or relief, but a story of strength, devotion, and hope. Julia is okay. The baby is okay. Brandon is unchanging. And together, with thousands of prayers around them, they move forward into the unknown, stronger than ever and ready for what comes next. This gossip is over. If you liked the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.